Hi, I'm Michty Maxx, and I'm here to share this Terminator-inspired makeup complete with face damage. For the eyes, I chose to simulate the Terminator's metal skeleton with the silver and dark metallic grey eyeshadows, and the shimmery red center on the lid represents the red camera lens eyes. I paired these eyes with a black and silver gradient lip and created this look as if I were a Terminator wearing this makeup and then got the hell smashed out of my face. This tutorial is an easy and simple way to create torn skin without any special effects supplies. I simply looked at a skinless Terminator and tried to approximate the metal skull plates underneath the skin and had some fun adding the blood around the wounds too. Starting with the eyes, I first primed my lids with Too Faced Shadow Insurance, applying that with my fingers from lash line to brow and also under my eyes. Then I took NYX's Jumbo Eye Pencil in Milk and rubbed my special finger on the tip to pick up some of the white creamy product and then dabbed that onto the center of the lid. And I'm blending out the edges with a clean finger, leaving maximum opacity in the center. Next, I'm taking MAC Paint Pot in Painterly and the Real Techniques Deluxe Crease Brush to apply that to my brow bone for a neutral brow highlight and to cancel out any skin discoloration or veins. Now onto this high heel tape dispenser, and I'm taking some tape and rubbing it on the back of my hand to reduce its stickiness, pulling it off and sticking it down again, then lining that up with my lower lash line, angling it up towards the tail of my brow, creating a winged out shaped stencil for my eyeshadow. Make sure you line them up as straight as possible on each side and readjust if necessary. I went for MAC Paint Pot in Background and applied it to the outer and inner thirds of my lid with my fingertip, blending the charcoal base into the white on the center to complete the eyeshadow base layer on my lid. I darkened it up till I was satisfied with the color and had it nicely blended up into my crease. I grabbed the Inglot eyeshadow in number 101R and took the lightest shade onto a Sigma E70 medium angled shading brush to apply that skin tone shadow to my brow bone and inner corner. Then I took a mix of the medium and darkest shades from that eyeshadow trio and used it as a transition shade through my crease, applied with the Sedona Lace EB09 blending brush. Now I'm taking a Sugarpill pigment called Grand Tiara, and I used MAC Fix Plus to spray into the lid to mix up a paste with the Sigma E17 Tightline liner brush. I'm dabbing the highly metallic glittery silver onto my outer and inner lid, then tapping it with my fingertip to blend it out. I also applied a touch of the dry pigment to the arch of my brow with the end of that brush. Then I went for the Inglot eyeshadow in number 451 Pearl on the Sigma F70 concealer brush to pack onto the outer and inner corners of my lid to deepen up the metallic color. I also used the tip of the brush to run this metallic slate shade through my crease, joining up either side of my lid. I'm not worrying about blending the crease out now, I'm just laying down some color and getting the pigmentation on the lid that I desire. I'm taking the Gunmetal eyeshadow from the First Naked palette to merge the slate shadow with the silver pigment, adding that with the same brush between the two colors. I'm using the Sigma E36 blending brush to run along the crease. I'm beginning to buff out the slate shade and removing the harsh line. Then I grabbed some of the transition shade on the end of the tiny blending brush and used that to buff along the edge. I went back between the flat concealer brush with the slate shade on it and the tiny E36 blending brush to wing out the eyeshadow along the tape, creating a flattering shape, pulling it up at the outer edge and softening it at the top. I took the Sugarpill eyeshadow in Bulletproof with the same flat brush and added some depth to the outer wing along the tape and even just a touch into the inner corner, layering the matte black eyeshadow over the shimmery ones. Then I went in with the Sigma E47 Shader Crease and took some more black eyeshadow to work that into my crease and outer edges of the lid. And as it is customary, I blended out my crease again and used the tiny fluffy brush, some transition shades, and even brightened up the brow bone. I wasn't happy with the depth, so I added more matte black into the crease with the pointed brush. Next, I grabbed the Sugarpill loose pigment in Asylum, and with the Illamasqua sealing gel, I created a metallic red paste, then applied that in a triangle shape to the center of my lid over the white base with the Naked 3 brush. I just dabbed it on solidly at first, then kept my eyes open, plus fanned it with my hand to mostly dry the pigment, and before it completely set, I tapped on some dry Asylum pigment around the edge of the red shape to blur the edges. Then I went back to the Grand Tiara pigment and took some of that dry on the tiny tight liner brush to overlap the edge of the red, swapping back and forth between those two brushes to create a seamless fade. When I'm happy with that and it looks even enough to me, I'm going back to the slate eyeshadow and covering my tear duct in an angular shape. I wiped off my lower lash line with a makeup wipe and went back to the MAC Paint Pot in Background, and I used a pointed cotton bud to run it along the inner and outer thirds of my lower lash line, also blending it out with the other end. I grabbed the Milk Jumbo Eye Pencil and rubbed a cotton bud on the end to pick up some product and smudged that on the center of my lower lash line, and went back to the slate eyeshadow and used the tip of the flat brush to set that paint pot, and to the red Asylum pigment again again, I liquefied it with the Illamasqua Sealing Gel and applied it to the center of my lower lash line. I took some more Grand Tiara on that small brush to blend next to the red pigment, transitioning it into the slate shade, using the pigment damp to get opacity, but aiding the blend with some dry pigment, brightening up the red so it doesn't get enveloped by the silver and making the gradient match the top lid. I added some bulletproof to the outer corner with the pointed blending brush, buffing against the tape and merging the top and bottom lids. I also blended underneath my lower lash line. Then I took the Inglot Matte Gel Eyeliner in number 77 and used the pointed cotton bud to apply it onto my waterline and also my tight line to give the eye some extra dark definition. I also rubbed it into my lower lashes so there was no skin peeking through and it flowed into my lower lash line. I peeled off the tape carefully and on one side it didn't leave a solid line, as you can see, and I had to clean it up with a makeup wipe to straighten it and work on it a bit to give it a sharp edge like the other side. Then I curled my lashes, crimping them at the base and the middle to prepare them for mascara. And today I will be using my CoverGirl Clump Crusher applicator to replace the giant bristled brush on this Maybelline mascara and apply a decent couple of coats to my lashes, also adding some to the bottom lashes as well. I cleaned up any fallout with another makeup wipe and then applied the Maxx Strobe Cream Moisturizer over my face with my fingers. I started my face with Benefit Professional to prime as usual, and then I remembered I hadn't done my brows, so I pulled out Benefit Browsings in Light, back to the face, and I did my usual foundation routine that you can check out in the card above or the description box. For the cheeks, I wanted to keep them matte and warm, so I used MAC Surf Baby Blush in My Paradise, and applied that with my Napoleon Perdis 20B Reflective Contour Brush in an angular shape slightly under the cheekbones and towards the temples. Then I took my Bepanthen ointment to moisturize my lips for the matte dramatic lip later, and then I went on to the Wounded Terminator inspired design. I began by taking the Rimmel pencil in pure white and sketching an outline for the basic shape that I want. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect now, you're just getting a vague idea that you can build on for the face paint design. I started with the Makeup Forever Flash Palette and grabbed the silver cream and applied it to the back of my hand, then used the Sigma E17 Tightline Liner Brush from before to fill in the shapes and add a base coat of a nice metallic silver. For the eyebrows section, I wanted it to look like part of the eyebrow was busted, so I got a spoolie to brush my eyebrows out of the way and in a disheveled shape as much as my brow hairs would allow, and then I used the Benefit Gimme Brow to set my hairs in that direction, as well as applying that to the rest of my brows for a cohesive look. And I removed some of the eyebrow products with a cotton bud and a bit of makeup remover. Then I added some silver cream to that space and over any brow hairs that remained there. I also added some jagged lines around my shapes to give the wounds a bit more of an organic feel, as if the skin was actually ripped open. I wiped off that brush to remove the cream product, then I grabbed yet another silver Sugarpill pigment called Tiara that is a bit more of a darker silver, and I created a paste with the Illamasqua Sealing Gel again and applied it over the metal holes with the small brush, creating more jagged edges as well. Adding this pigment over the cream base really gives a high shine chrome metallic finish and makes that area really look like metal. I also brushed up my brow hairs to make them look disheveled as I filled in the eyebrow wound. When I was finished with the silver pigment, I went back to the Inglot Slate Eyeshadow number 451 Pearl and used the MAC 266 angled brush to shade the edge of the shape and add in the metallic skeletal structure underneath. I followed a picture of a skinless Terminator, vaguely putting in the eye socket and cheekbone sections. I ran the dark metallic eyeshadow around the inside of the entire holes and then used the angled brush to pull the pigment towards the center, creating a shadow. Then I went back to the Sugarpill Bulletproof, and on the same brush I darkened up the metal plate divisions in the skeleton, and I went around the edge again with the matte black eyeshadow, adding even more depth and making the silver sections look like they recede behind the skin. I pulled some of the black shading inwards and kept a sharp line on the outer edge. I went back to the black Inglot gel eyeliner and used a pointed cotton bud to strengthen the faceplate divisions so they showed up better over the metallic base, and I set that with the matte black eyeshadow. I elongated the ripped points, adding a few more jagged lines, even blending them out with my finger to make the skin look burnt and dirty. Then I went for the white Inglot gel eyeliner and Duraline to create a highlight to the center of the metal, adding that with the small end of the electric brush and blending it in with my finger to soften it. I even added a bit of Grand Tiara to the highlight spots, but it didn't make that much of a difference. To increase the shadows, I went back to the slate shade and darkened up under the metal plates and edges of the wound, plus buffing that in towards the center for a softer, realistic feel. For blood, I went with the Makeup Geek gel eyeliner in Poison and used the Sigma E16 waterline liner brush to run that on the outside of the shapes I've made. It doesn't have to be a perfect line or precisely even all the way around. It's torn skin and will be destroyed in a slightly different way across the face. I'm also tapping it with my finger to blend it into the skin and smudge it a bit, so it doesn't look too drawn on and appears a bit more natural. After outlining the cheekbone section, I went around the eyebrow wound and made sure to add some blood underneath it and onto my brow. I'm also smudging out the lines in the same direction as the cuts to fade it out, and I'm adding some scratches in random places around the wounds, but in the same direction as if the skin was just scraped but not penetrated all the way to the metal endoskeleton. Then I went back to the bulletproof eyeshadow with the angled brush and I outlined the wound again to bring back any depth that the red outline obscured, and I added some more black to some of the blood streaks and smudged it around the place to portray burnt or blackened flesh, all following the same general orientation to get a flow of damage and movement to the effect. Cause a lot of things happen to the Terminator. Explosions, fire, smashes to the face with large hard metal objects. Yeah, his face can take a lot of punishment. And for a bit of fun I added Mary Luminizer to the tip of my nose and slightly along the bridge. Next for the lips, I removed the lip moisturizer with a cotton bud and I primed my lips with MAC Prep and Prime Lip Base. Then I took the Urban Decay 24/7 eye pencil in Perversion to line my lips and coat the perimeter, but leave the center bare. And I took the Sedona Lace LB25 lip brush to soften that line a bit. I grabbed the Melt Cosmetics lipstick in Bane and from the bullet I carefully applied the matte black shade around the perimeter of my lips over the Perversion pencil. I took the Milani Liquefied pencil in Silver and filled in the center of my lips with this waterproof metallic silver. When I had enough of that on, I got out the Sugarpill Grand Tiara pigment and the OCC Lip Tart in Iced, and I squeezed some out onto the back of my hand, then used the clean lip brush to scoop up some silver pigment and mix it with the liquid lipstick for a silver color, and then I smeared that over the center of my lips. I tapped some dry pigment over the lip tart to add more sparkle and completely saturate the metallic silver, then I dusted a light layer of the pigment around the edge to fade the silver into the black, leaving a dramatic gradient. Make sure to remove any silver from your teeth, because that's not how Terminators are made. I added a bit more matte black lipstick around the perimeter to make sure it was solid, and I grabbed that capped lip brush with the silver on it to take in my bag so I can reapply my lipstick after eating all the popcorn. Lastly, I took Urban Decay All Nighter Makeup Setting Spray and showered myself in it to make sure all my makeup stays where I put it. And after fanning my face and foofing my hair, I'm done. This is the first time I've tried any face painting, and I think it worked out pretty well with the shading and shiny texture of the metallic endoskeleton of the Terminator. And it was totally awesome wearing this makeup out to the movies, especially when I left our session and walked down through the patrons waiting to get into the theatre, then down the stairs and through the chock-full candy bar on the way out, all the while mimicking the Terminator's stiff gait and scanning head motions. I have never seen people split like the sea that hard just for little old me. It was like a fantastic superpower. Well, I guess the power of looking really freaky and scaring people into getting out of your way. I did seriously frighten a young child and his father, who literally jumped across the aisle in the supermarket as I bought some snacks before the movie. So that was pretty fun too. You can find all the details for the products used in this makeup on my blog linked in the description box, with affiliate links too. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this Get Ready With Me Terminator inspired makeup tutorial, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos and also check out my band and podcast on iTunes. And I stayed in character even in the elevator, as you can see here.
Click the little boxes if you want to see other tutorials of mine.